In 2017, during President Trump's first term, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was passed. This bill dramatically lowered taxes for millions of Americans. However, many provisions from this act are set to expire in 2025. Now, Republicans are rushing to get a new bill passed to extend the TCJA and other significant tax changes. Today, I'm going to be breaking down everything that you need to know about Trump's new bill called the Big Beautiful Bill. Without further ado, let's dive in. All right, guys, here's the latest news. On April 10, 2025, the U.S. House of Representatives passed President Trump's budget resolution. Karlton, what is a budget resolution, you might be asking? A budget resolution is a non-binding framework that outlines federal spending and revenue targets over a specified period, typically 10 years. While it doesn't have the force of law, it sets the parameters for subsequent legislation. Importantly, it can include reconciliation instructions, which direct specific congressional committees to draft legislation that aligns with the budget's goals. So, getting Trump's resolution passed in the House was a major step towards turning the Big Beautiful Bill into the Big Beautiful Law. This resolution did not pass easily. In fact, every single Democrat in the House voted against it, and so did two Republicans, fiscal conservatives Thomas Macy of Kentucky and Victoria Spartz of Indiana. Some Republicans were concerned that the budget resolution did not reduce enough spending. This created drama during the voting process, which took significantly longer than expected. However, the budget proposal did end up passing in a 216 to 214 House vote. Speaking about the budget resolution passing, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson said, "I told you not to doubt us," expressing a high level of confidence about the ability of Republican leaders to get things done in Congress. Now, before I tell you what the next steps are for the Big Beautiful Bill to become law, let's talk about what Trump and other Republican leaders are trying to accomplish with this bill. What will likely be in the Big Beautiful Bill? The Big Beautiful Bill represents a sweeping legislative effort backed by President Donald Trump and Republican lawmakers. It is projected that the bill will include multiple conservative objectives bundled into one major package that will serve as a central pillar of the GOP's legislative agenda. The bill has not been fully written yet, and there are likely to be a number of edits and changes once the original draft is written. However, here's what is likely to be in the bill on the budget proposal and Trump's various promises. Number one, a tax overhaul. A renewal of the 2017 Trump's tax cuts combined with fresh tax breaks such as exempting tips and Social Security benefits from taxation. Spending realignment. Increased funding for the military and border infrastructure offset by deep spending reductions. Energy and environmental rollbacks. Possible elimination of clean energy subsidies enacted under the Inflation Reduction Act, signaling a redirection in national energy priorities. Border and immigration enforcement. Enhanced funding for border security efforts, including renewed investment in wall construction and expanded detention operations. Although the passage of the budget resolution is a pivotal milestone, the border bill faces an uphill battle in Congress. Lawmakers remain divided over the scale of spending cuts and the fate of provisions like green energy incentives. Furthermore, reconciliation rules limit what can be included, extending measures lacking direct physical consequences. As Congress moves forward, more revisions and behind-the-scene bargaining are expected to help the bill get passed. So what does this all mean for you? Well, President Trump and GOP leaders are working hard to preserve the tax cuts that the American taxpayers have enjoyed since 2017. In case you didn't know, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act dramatically reduced tax rates in America across the board. Here is a look at what the tax rates were before and after the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act went into effect. Before, we used to have a 10% tax bracket. After, we remained 10%. We used to have a 15, now that went to 12. We used to have a 25 that went to 22, a 28% that went to 24%, a 33% that went to 32%, a 35% that remained at 35%, and a 39.6% that dropped to a high level of 37%. As you can see, most of the tax rates dropped significantly. Many critics of President Trump said that he only lowered taxes for the rich. But you can tell just by looking at this chart that he also lowered taxes for low and middle income earners too. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act also lowered the corporate income tax rate from 35% down to 21%, and it boosted the standard deduction substantially. So, if the Big Beautiful Bill passes, then all of you watching this video will be able to keep the tax benefits you enjoyed from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. However, if it doesn't pass, then you could soon be paying significantly higher taxes. Not every provision from the TCJA is set to expire, but many of the most important ones, such as the federal income tax rate reductions, are set to expire. So, for example, if you file as a single and if you make $100,000 in 2025, then the top federal income tax rate would be 22%. However, if the bill doesn't pass and if the tax cuts from the TCJA expire at the end of 2025, that rate can jump back up to 25%. This could cause you to pay significantly more in taxes every single year. So what is next for this bill? The bill now has to be written, and lawmakers are going to have to decide exactly what to include in it. The clock is ticking to get this bill passed before the tax cuts from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expire at the end of the year. You see, many Republican leaders are pushing for a speedy drafting of this bill. For example, Senate Budget Chair Lindsey Graham said that he wants to get the bill to Trump before Memorial Day. He also said if things drag out too long, I'm going to say break it apart. Some lawmakers think that the bill may be easier to pass if it is cut into several different bills. And this is simply just because the big beautiful bill is expected to have many different items included inside of it. But we know President Trump will undoubtedly want as many of the tax cuts that he promised on the campaign trail included as possible. However, it is important to note that the federal tax cuts can reduce the government's income and thus expand its deficit. To counteract this, many Republican lawmakers have been pushing for over a $1.5 trillion in spending cuts. But importantly, the budget resolution that was passed in the House on April 10th only included minimum spending cuts of about $4 billion. So this is likely to be a strong point of contention why the bill is being written. And at this time, we don't know exactly what the final bill will look like, but it is a good bet that it's going to take weeks to months for the drafts to be finalized, and there are sure to be some fiery debates at Capitol Hill about key issues related to the bill before it's finally drafted. Once the bill is written, it will still have to face additional votes in Congress, and President Trump would have to approve and sign the bill for it to become law. So there is still a long way to go before the big beautiful bill becomes the law of the land. But considering the fact that the TCJA, which was also a groundbreaking law, was passed during Trump's first term, there's a very good chance that this massive bill could be passed and become law during Trump's second term. Now, what about the opposition from the Democrats? Although many Republicans are enthusiastic about the big, beautiful bill, there has been widespread criticism over this upcoming bill for Democrats. In fact, some Democrats are determined to do whatever they can to stop the bill from passing and becoming law. For example, Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader of the House of Representatives, who represents the 8th Congressional District of New York, he said that everyday Americans are under assault by an extreme MAGA Republican agenda in which tax cuts are provided to billionaires, donors, and wealthy Americans while everyday Americans get stuck with the bill. He encouraged Democrats to fight the Republican agenda legislatively in the courts and even in the streets. So, how do we prepare? You see, as a taxpayer, you need to be prepared for both scenarios, the bill passing and the bill not passing. Between all these tax changes up in the air and the United States entering a massive trade war, there is quite a high level of uncertainty occurring right now in many different areas. So, one of the best things that you can do is to educate yourself on tax strategy. One of the single most powerful tax strategies out there is rental real estate investing. With real estate investing, you can access massive deductions such as depreciation. We talk about it night and day on this channel. If you play that real estate game correctly, you can also potentially accelerate the timetable to claim depreciation and use it to offset your W-2 or your 1099 income. We have self-employed individuals that are paying as little as 0% in income taxes by investing in real estate the right way. Real estate is also a great inflation hedge, and who wouldn't want to have additional cash flow right now with all of these changes going on? So if you want to learn a little bit more about the tax benefits of rental real estate investing, then check out this video I have here. And if you're brand new to real estate investing and want a full step-by-step guide on how to get started, then watch this video right here. Now, as always, I'm going to answer a question from one of my subscribers. This question was asked by LBG09 on my School of Hard Knocks Came to My House video. Make sure you check that video out if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet. The question was, Karlton, I didn't know you can take bonus depreciation from a vehicle. How? I'm dying to know. I'm a small LLC owner looking to expand in the near future, and we need a truck. How can I get contact info on your company? Contact info on our company is down below. Be sure to check it out. You didn't know you could take bonus depreciation? Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I put out tons of content around it. I claimed bonus depreciation on a vehicle that was over 6,000 pounds in that video that you watched. This year in 2025, unless we get Donald Trump to extend the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, bonus depreciation is at 40% on vehicles that weigh over 6,000 pounds, gross vehicle weight rating. Just wanted to make sure you guys have that information. If the vehicle's under 6,000 pounds, you could still depreciate it under code code section 179, but you're not going to be able to write off the full value or the full purchase price of that vehicle. If you have any questions around how you can take more deductions, or if you're looking for more strategies, be sure to click on the links below. We are here to help you. Without further ado, I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much for watching.